So the title of this video is Liberty, Freedom, and the Constitution. And if you're watching this video expecting me to go out there and say, oh yeah, freedom, bro, it's all that matters, 1776, I think you're going to be, unfortunately, thoroughly disappointed. This is just going to be kind of a rambling series of thoughts that I have with it. But I was watching a YouTuber named Razorfist, and he gave a video about Lincoln, and he was on with a couple other people. And when he was on discussing his video about Abraham Lincoln, he had something very interesting to say about the Constitution. He said that it's unfortunate that we have the Second Amendment in the Constitution. And I was kind of confused by this, but the more he talked about it, the more it made sense. That the idea of the Constitution is that of the government guaranteeing your rights. So it's not necessarily like you can just go out there and do it. The government has to guarantee it. And in a sense, if the government ever really wanted to and became truly tyrannical, it could take it away from you theoretically. But this is kind of a critique I would have of the Constitution and of the amendments. That the government is the only person who can guarantee you, or thing, that can guarantee you their amendments. Now, technically, we might want these amendments and want these freedoms, and that they may be good, but the government is inherently the only people, the only thing, the only institution that can guarantee and enforce your freedoms. In many ways, this is the reverse of the way you hear modern Republicans would talk about it. You have a lot of people saying, well, I just want to get the government out of everything and out of my life, and we want less government and a more anarchist view, or at least leaning towards it, a libertarian view even. But the problem with this is the Founding Fathers of the United States wrote the Constitution and had the Bill of Rights, and in it they originally had 10 amendments to it. But the problem with that is they wanted a continuation of these amendments, essentially to as many as you could possibly think of. But with every amendment you add, you're increasing that of the government in a sense, because now the government has to ensure these rights and ensure these rights and ensure these rights. And if you really wanted to, you can have these amendments go on forever. Now, this could be a damaging source, because how long until the amendments eventually kind of run out? I mean, how many freedoms do we really need to write about and talk about? And in a sense, this goes against that natural concept that Republicans have, because Republicans want less government. But the Founding Fathers didn't mind using the government to ensure their freedom. Now, this kind of goes to the idea of the philosopher, or at least a political, or just the great thinker, Isaiah Berlin. And positive liberty is something of self-mastery, that of controlling yourself, controlling your emotions, and valid human ideas. That was his form of positive liberty. Now, that'd be somewhat more closer to the way the original Founding Fathers were, that you had to be a disciplined and moral and virtuous person in order to fully have the Constitution and the Republic. And then there's a form of negative liberty, which could somewhat be described as leaving yourself alone, be allowed to do whatever you want to do. Now, the negative liberty that he was talking about is very much what is proposed today when it comes to liberty. The idea that you can do as you please and you can do as you want to, but I don't really view this as a form of liberty or freedom, because, again, if you have a form of freedom where you're going to be controlled by substance abuse or some other mastery of your passions, then you're not really free. You're in control. Now, there's another form of liberty, in my opinion, and that of governmental liberty, where the government guarantees you your liberty and your rights. Now, that's kind of, in a sense, what both positive and what the governmental liberty is, because it's the government guarantee you these liberty rights. So in a weird sense, Republicans are very much going against themselves, whereas Democrats are ensuring the rights of the people that they want to protect by ensuring that the government enforces their liberty. So in a weird way, Democrats definitely have the advantage when it comes to using the Constitution and using the amendments. They are essentially playing the game when Republicans are not. Now, try not to get too political with it. I like to stick more with religion. But in all seriousness, to me, the only sense of real freedom that you can actually have is that from God. Only God can ensure you that you have true freedom in this world. And it sounds almost like a contradiction, because you're giving yourself over to God. You're essentially giving over what you believe in for God. But that's the only true freedom that you can have, because that's the freedom when you have mastery. That's the freedom when you're away from temptation, when you can go fishing, you can do the things you really want to. You might have to give a little when it comes to going to church or caring about somebody or doing the right thing, but it does not mean that therefore you're completely controlled. And we have it today that people don't have the same freedom that they once did, because they're not as disciplined. And when you don't have discipline, you do not have freedom. The critique of the amendments and the Constitution being that of a very limited form of liberty. And what I mean by that is you might have the first 10 amendments from the Bill of Rights. Now, these are only 10 amendments that are really guaranteed to you from the government. And now every single time you add an amendment, you add another freedom, yes, but you also add more governmental control, as I said before. So what also issue comes with this? Well, it's a limited amount. Even if you had 200 sets of freedom, that's really only 200 amendments, 200 forms of freedom that the government would therefore protect for you. The government would not protect anything that was outside those amendments or those rights or that does not deem worthy of being freedom. So if a government wanted to, let's pretend, for example, that the government said, you could therefore ban video games because video games are not technically protected from the Constitution and with the amendments. You could therefore ban it simply due to the fact that it's not a protected amendment. It's not a protected right that the government sees fit in order to protect for the people. So it's a very limited form of freedom as well. And this is why simply just using the government for your freedom can be a massive issue and become a massive disruptor of your personal liberty, because no longer is your liberty therefore protected and something that you can view for yourself, but now it's only for what perhaps maybe an oligarch or some other elite form of governmental class could therefore protect and therefore say that it is a worthy freedom, but what your freedom is doing is not worthy to be protected. So that's about it. Thank you guys for listening. This is going to be like a quicker video and something I was thinking a lot about, and I'd love to hear your thoughts and opinions about it. Please let me know, and thank you very much for listening. Bye.